Hey there, Vince here, and welcome to a Super Legacy Circuit Rewind. So let's just jump right into things today. Nothing janky about this setup at all. Actually, something very, very simple and normal. I have my laptop here, and what I want to discuss is CDs and DVDs from yesteryear. As somebody who works on a lot of retro machines, and even modern ones too sometimes depending on what I need, I often struggle to find drivers or manuals or other things for software and hardware that I happen to be using. So a common place for myself and people like me to go is the Internet Archive to look up ISO images for, various pieces of hardware, software, things like that, like I described. And having done that a lot over the years, I figured it's finally time for me personally to give back. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking virtually every commercial CD and DVD in my collection and my family's collections, gathering them all up, dumping them, creating ISO files from them, and then uploading those to the Internet Archive. So what I wanted to do is to showcase the process of how to do this in case you wanted to do this yourself. First off, what you'll need is a computer. Go figure. You probably have one because you're watching this video right now, unless you're weird and watching it on a cell phone, which I don't know how you watch videos on a cell phone because it's only like 4 inches and it's too tiny to see anything, but whatever. Anyway, I'm going to use a laptop here. And the reason for that specifically is because I know a lot of you today are going to be on laptops rather than desktops. And especially desktops today don't even have the drive base to put optical drives in anymore. And this right here is an old DVD drive that I pulled out of a machine many, many moons ago. I don't even know how old it is anymore. So what I did to it is right back here is you can get these SATA to USB, plug it into a modern machine, and this just sits open and loose, and then there's a power cable to power this because USB does not have enough power for this type of drive. And with that, I can now just go and plop a disk in. So here I have CyberLink BD solution. So this is a driver disk for their Blu-ray player. Okay, so the software that I chose to use today is called AnyBurn. You can freely download this on the internet. Just go to their website and download it, and I'll have a link down below for that. And inside of here, I'm going to go to Copy Disk to Image File. And as you can see here, this right here is our drive that we're copying from. And then over here, we have a destination for an ISO file. Okay, so I want to change the destination here because I don't want this in my documents. I'm going to go to my desktop, and under my desktop, I have an ISOs folder, which you can actually see right here on the desktop. And I'm going to call this BD-ROM because this is a BD-ROM utility. I'm going to hit enter, and there we go. Now I have that on my desktop. And I want this in ISO format because this is what most people are going to be able to use. And conveniently enough, even modern Windows can just directly open ISO files. You don't need any special software anymore. That's really awesome. I love that Microsoft finally did something like that. Back in the day, we had to use some tool called Daemon Tools to do mounting, and really Daemon Tools was, but wasn't, kind of a piracy program, and it was, questionable legalities. But nowadays, having it built into Windows, we don't got to worry about that. Anyways, with all that done, I'm now going to go and click on Create Now. This will spin up the disk, start reading the data, and copy it over to the system. And we can see down here that we have a nice, lovely progress bar showing us how far along this is in the process. For now, I'm going to close this program. Normally when I'm doing this process, I have a whole workflow where I have one going here and then one going into the next stage. But for the purpose of this video, I'm only going to show one disk for now. Normally I have like a full pipeline going here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this disk and put it over here. Just kind of hope that it's facing upwards and put it in my flatbed scanner. And you may be saying, hey Vince, I don't have a flatbed scanner. What can I do instead? And honestly, just take a picture of the disk with your cell phone. All I'm doing is taking a picture of the label. That way, when I upload it to the Internet Archive, it has something a little bit more visually representative other than just, hey, this is an ISO file. That's kind of boring. And besides, when archiving things, like archiving the label, that is part of the beauty of this. As one person put in one of the Discords I'm in, when I was earlier in this project, they mentioned that CDs, the labels on CDs really became a form of artwork because you have that the constraint of the circle, but also the circle in the center that's cut out. So some companies started doing some really creative things. Part of the reason I love, going through old archives is I'm going to use a program called PaintShop Pro version 5.0. And before I get into actually capturing, let me go to About PaintShop Pro. And you can see this is, again, version 5.00. And this is copyrighted 1998, and yet I'm using it on Windows 11. Thank you, Microsoft, for having really damn good backwards compatibility, by the way. So this program still works flawless today, the exact as it did the day that it launched. So I'm going to go to File, Import, Twain, and Acquire. Don't worry about what those words mean, just those are the things you click on. I'm going to hit Preview first to make sure that it looks, nice and good. The scanner is going to do a very low resolution scan. And done. One nice thing about this particular scanner is that it auto crops to whatever the content is, so it doesn't show the full length of the flatbed. Instead, it just shows the section where the actual content is, which is this disk. Something else is I don't really spend too much time trying to get the disk exactly perfectly rotated. Like, yes, I can also correct that in post too, but I don't bother. As long as there's a picture of the label, I think it's good enough. And for anybody who's browsing the Internet Archive, if this is skewed by like 10 degrees like it is right now, it's not going to affect anybody. I think it's fine. One thing here is I'm going to set this to 600 DPI for this scanner because it can't really do 1200. That's kind of a lie that it does in the driver. And I think everything else is mostly just going to be default. And I'm going to click scan. Hilarious thinking about new versus old scanner technology when it had that prompt about warming up the scanner. That's because old scanners had a specific type of bulb that actually took time to reach its specific color temperature. So like the longer it was on, the closer it would get to a natural white. Versus this right here, again with this scanner here, there's no external power. This is completely USB powered. It's using LEDs to power the lights. There is no warm up of LEDs. You apply power, they're on. It's instantaneous. And just like that, the image is now in PaintShop Pro. And we can see up here by the title that is 1 to 5 right now. That's actually the zoom. So if I zoom in with the mouse wheel, we can see it 1 to 1. This is actually a really, really big image. And we can actually see all of the individual dots printed on this label from their inkjet printing or whatever technology they used at the time. So this would be plenty large, great quality image for anybody who wants to do like historical context of this. So now I'm going to go back to ISOs on my desktop, and again I'm going to just specify this as a JPEG. Good enough quality for what we're doing, it doesn't matter too much. And again, BD-ROM. And I'm just going to hit save, and just like that, we now have a fully backed up ISO image with a photo of the label. And like I said, don't have a scanner, use a cell phone. Just having the image is more important than just having a perfect scan of an image. So why am I doing this? Like, I just showed off a really old program, but there's tons and tons of other old things that are really, really cool on some of these disks. The disks have more than just the thing they come with. When you bought a GPU or a motherboard, oftentimes they may have come with a video game demo or even a full video game. Or sometimes they come with like different tech demos or like little promotional videos, things like that, that otherwise would be lost to time if we don't back up these disks. I want to go through a couple of those real quick for you right now. Wow, this is, I don't even know what to describe about this label. This is one I scanned previously. Free unlimited internet access, Costco wholesale, fortified with Yahoo, powered by Spinway. So first off, I'll say, I have no idea who the hell Spinway is. Just straight up, I don't. Yahoo, they kind of don't exist in the United States anymore. There was some mergers and acquisitions. They merged with AOL, if you know who they are, and was acquired by Verizon. And I think Verizon may have spun off that company. I'm not sure, whatever, doesn't matter. Costco's a real interesting company. For those that don't know, they're a big box store here in the United States, and I think around the world too. And with Costco, they're membership based. So you spend like $55, $60 a year, whatever the membership fee is. I don't know what the fee is right now. And that gets you access to the store, unlike, let's say, a Walmart that you can just walk into. They do a lot of wholesale selling. They're designed to sell for like local restaurants and convenience stores, things like that. Or normal consumers can go in there with a membership and buy groceries or buy giant TVs, or you can buy tires for your car, or a whole slew of other things. And over the years, they've experimented with a lot of different things. One of the things they experimented with apparently was free internet access. See, this one baffles my mind the most because this CD actually came from my personal collection, and I don't remember ever getting this disc or ever using it or even knowing that Costco had internet access until I started this archival project a month ago. So, cool. All right, so here we have the folder with the ISO. And like I said, in Windows, we have the ability to directly open them. So I'm going to go Open With, and I'm just going to say Windows Explorer. So with that, it created a virtual DVD drive inside of Windows, as you can see there, and it mounted the ISO into that virtual DVD drive so we can access it, and all software will think it's just a normal optical drive, even though we're dealing with an ISO. So why did I want to do this? Like, obviously, I'm not going to use their internet service. I don't have dial-up capabilities. I'm assuming it's dial-up. I don't even know. But inside this Costco folder, there's this thing called Screen.exe, and this really intrigued me. I kind of guessed from the name what it might be, but I wanted to run it just in case to see what it is. And when I run it, Costco.com, is it okay to install the Costco.com screensaver? So a little history lesson on that, like modern computers, laptops, almost all of them are LCD screens. Back in the day though, we had CRTs, you know, those big bulky honking things. When you watch TV on them, there's not much of a problem because of noise, grain, signals, things like that. They won't have a problem, but when you're dealing with PCs, let's say with Microsoft Windows on your CRT monitor, your start bar at the bottom would be mostly static. Like the start button is just static, it's just always on the screen. And you risk burning that image into the screen. So Microsoft included a few different screensavers to, after a period of time, let's say 5 minutes or whatever you set it to, the screen would completely change and just have an animated pattern from, you know, whatever. And this right here is a third-party screensaver made by Costco. Yes, their internet access included a screensaver. Is it okay to install the screensaver? Absolutely. It's now officially been installed. So, even though this is Windows 11, we still have the old screensaver dialog that shipped with Windows 95. All right, let's take a look and see what this actually is. Products beyond the warehouse walls. Sony, Motorola, Huggies, Neutrogena, JVC. Games, communication. I can't even keep up with it. But yeah, you saw like a Dreamcast there, flowers. I mean, this shows like all sorts of different stuff that Costco has. Corporate gifts and collectibles. Ooh, crystal, clothing, sizes, health. Lots of S's and jewelries and handbags and briefcases. Yeah, so you get the idea. So when you get their internet access, if you snoop around the CD, you can get this really weird, bizarre advertisement with Costco showing some of their products. I just love that it has the Dreamcast on it, though. I was a huge fan of the Dreamcast when it came out. So another fun one, a company called D-Link makes networking hardware like network switches, which I used to have like, what, a 5-port and or 8-port little network switch in for my bedroom, and hosted LAN parties. So here we have D-Link Games. One of those devices actually came with like a little demo CD for games. It's chock full of them, tons and tons of games. It's really, really cool. So let's open that up. And by tons and tons of games, I mean there's only 2. As you can see from the title there, it calls it Blizzard because it comes with Diablo and Warcraft 2, and that's it. And at that, they're not even the retail games, they're just some demo versions of them. But you do get DirectX 6. Okay, this one right here is another really cool one. I'm a fan of fractal artwork. I will reference the Mandelbrot set all the time for just randomly. It's one of my favorite computer algorithms. Called Fractal Frenzy, Visions of Chaos Volume 1. I don't know if there's more than a Volume 1. This is the only one I've ever seen. I haven't really done research. But it's just chock full of just fractal images that people created. As you can see here, this is from 1993. I love that it mentions that the exact ISO 9660 format because that's just normal standard CD format. To start, type Go. I believe that this specifically was designed for DOS, but I mean, they're just images. We can open them on anything, it doesn't matter. This Walnut Creek CD-ROM, they were a big publishing house of CD-ROM discs in the early days when CD-ROMs first became available. When we download torrents, we call them Linux ISOs, but no, this was the company actually publishing Linux. The BSD is like free BSD on disk. I have some of their discs over there in my collection too. They were a big time publisher of those back in the day, and it was really cool to see that this disc right here, just right on the front, was like, hey, this is Walnut Creek. Those who know. So let's take a look inside of this one. Right off the bat, we have a 640 folder and a 1024 folder. Let's just assume those are image resolutions, with 640 being 640 by 480, so 480p. And 1024 being 1024 by 768 or 720p. But both of those are going to be square-ish resolutions rather than widescreen. So let's just go into a random folder here. Like I said, I love Mandelbrot, so let's go to the Mandel folder. And let's just right-click View, Extra Large, and let's make this big. And there we go. It's part of the Mandelbrot set. Somebody just zoomed in using a program and save this out to an image. These are saved as GIF files because back then the Mandelbrot set was designed, and most fractals were designed around a 256 color palette, which GIFs are specifically palletized at 256 colors, so it was a perfect match and great compression for the day, especially when you have these very large blobs of solid color. Isn't the Mandelbrot set just something else? Like, there's the base Mandelbrot and just all this weird, wacky, like crazy 70s hippie stuff going on. It's really, really awesome. It's really interesting to think, like I mentioned the algorithm earlier, all of these images were generated with the exact same algorithm with just a few variables tweaked for the zoom level and the XY coordinates, and that's it, just 3 variables. And the algorithm is something like 8 or 10 lines of code in that. It's really, really short. But all of these images were generated with that exact same like 8 lines of code with just changing those 3 variables. Getting into the retro gaming side of things a little bit, we have something called the GBA Movie Player. This was a third-party, probably unlicensed accessory for the Game Boy Advance. It was this oversized cartridge that you'd put into the Game Boy Advance, and it had room to plug a compact flash card into it. And then this software here, the GBA Movie Player software, would allow you to convert movie files over to a very low quality or low resolution file that can then be dumped on a compact flash card that the GBA Movie Player would then read, and you can watch movies on your Game Boy Advance or your SP or your DS. It was kind of neat for its era. So let's open this up with Windows Explorer, and we get the installer. Not a whole lot to it. It's just some desktop application that you drag and drop video files into, and it will convert it to the format that the GBA Movie Player expects. But it's cool to have that for historical context for anybody who may find that piece of hardware at a Goodwill or at a swap meet or something like that, that with this file now being on the internet, they can then take that device and it's no longer just a piece of e-waste. They can actually turn it into a functional piece of hardware again, having the correct software for it. The MSDN library is another real interesting one. This was actually my personal MSDN set way back in, as you can see here, October of 2000. That's when I really got heavy into doing Windows desktop software engineering. I was developing a user mode driver framework for Windows, and if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it right now. That's going to be an entire dedicated video by itself coming up in a few weeks. But what this was is before the internet, where we could just type in whatever we wanted and get a result on Google and figure out, like, oh, this function does this particular, action on the computer. We needed a reference manual for that. It was either monthly or quarterly, I forget what the cadence was, but Microsoft would publish all of their documentation on this multi-CD set. Like you can see this is disk 1, this is a 3 CD set. These were Microsoft Windows help file format files, which were super quick and easy to search actually. I preferred this up until maybe only 3 or 4 years ago on the internet, finally caught up to how fast the MSDN was. You could type in any function name that Windows exported, anything in the Windows development kit, and it would pop up in a fraction of a second. It would describe the function, it would show its parameters, it'd show all the data types, it would show examples of how to use it. A lot of really, really good key information. And I think a lot of programming environments can still learn from what Microsoft was doing over 20 years ago with documentation. Microsoft's own documentation failed in comparison when they switched to the web up until a few years ago. Nothing was anywhere near as good as the MSDN was up until like recently. If anybody wants to develop some Windows 95, 98, Windows 2000 software, that right there is the manual on how to do that. And yeah, there are still people doing stuff like that. And even with me, like I said, the software that I used to write, I'm working on reviving and bringing that back, and that's going to be a video soon. So keep an eye out. Okay, so for the final disk for right now, we have MSN Internet Access version 6.0. So first off, MSN Internet. Think of Microsoft Internet Explorer and 6.0. Probably the same era. Pretty old. Oh, it says right on it, the year 2000. There you go. So older than IE6, I think. And let's go check this out. And on here we have CD samples, videos. Ooh, what are these? Age 2X. Let's drag this into our VLC media player and see what happens. Wow. Age of Empires 2. 5 new civilizations. All right, let's see what we've got next. Arcade 3. That is so impressive. Look at Mrs. PacMan. Eat that ghosty. Let's try baseball. Oh man, those graphics, they're like 3D. Ooh, oh, right. That's why I wanted to show this one specifically. One of the shots there was what's now known as T-Mobile Park here in Seattle. I love that they started off with that, but it makes sense because Microsoft being in Redmond is just right across the pond from us. Hey, look, and it shows the Seattle Mariners there as in their demo video. So they're really pimping out their local Seattle region heritage. IMs. Hey, wait. That was not intentional. That one was not intentional. Oh, that's the 1.0. I'm on the 2. This is the 3.0. They're showing the 1.0 of the mouse. But I did not watch this video first, so no, I did not intentionally use the same mouse. I just usually use this mouse when doing old video stuff. Mouses. Every computer. Oh, come on, you're going to use the cheap mouse there. That's not fair. Ooh, NFL. What's NFL? NFL Fever 2000. NFL Blitz looked better than that, the N64 game. But then again, NFL Blitz on the N64 is kind of like the definitive NFL game for like 10 or 15 years. It was really good. Wait. Look at this. What is he doing there? What is he doing? Like, here, I'm going to shake my booty at you and make you run away. Okay, Streets. Hey. Oh, Streets and Trips. That's right. Before Google Maps, you had to buy software, install it locally to be able to look at a map. We did not have maps on the internet yet at this point. And with this, you can actually plan a route from one location to another, and it would tell you how to get there. This literally was revolutionary when this came out. Sports! Action! Racing! This reminds me of just the way that started. Oh, even the lighting. This is totally the PowerThirst commercial. If you don't know PowerThirst, I'm sorry. Works. This is going to be Microsoft Works. I already know. Basically, Works was the stripped down, cheap version of Microsoft Office. And lastly, Windows Me. So many possibilities of crashing. Oh, wait. Oh, look at that 3D. Wow. Too bad the operating system never did that. That'd be a cool boot animation. Explore your creativity. Those are just 10 different speaker systems. He's just watching a video of himself. This is, ooh, look at all the, look at all those ghetto cameras. Oh my God. Speaking of ghetto cameras, that's probably going to be the next video on this channel or the one after it. So whatever the YouTube people say, like comment, like, subscribe, pick your nose, I don't know, whatever the YouTubers do. I'm not a YouTuber. I just play one on, crap, this is YouTube. Oh no, that kid is... Thank you for repairing the computer. And that's enough of those for now. If you'd like to check out any of these disk images yourself, visit Circuit Rewind on archive.org. Oh yeah, IntelliMouse and IntelliPoint. Back when you had to have drivers for your mouse and keyboard to make them work. We've come a long way.